Hi, I'm Jennet Ingle, the 5 Minute Reedmaker. If you are watching this on YouTube, would you go ahead and click subscribe for me? That way you always know when I drop a new episode, and it also makes it easier for other people to find my channel and then to become better reed makers and happier musicians. Thank you. In Reed Club the other night, I was asked, how do you know when you have too much out of the back? And my immediate answer was, I don't know. I don't think I've ever taken too much out of the back because I love scraping in the back, actually. It's the way I am most comfortable with my reeds because I like them fairly closed. I like them fairly flexible. I really want to have that kind of control over the opening that I can get very easily from scraping out right behind the heart. But I didn't have a clear answer for it, so I proposed to my reed club participant that she do an experiment around taking a reed and then just taking the back down, scrape at a time, to observe what exactly it is that the back does and what happens when she goes too far. And then I realized that I could do that experiment too, and so I will do it for you today. Let's see how this goes. This reed was a blank a minute ago, and all I've done is taken bark off, but I've not done anything about delineating the windows from the heart. It is a relatively, not completely, finished tip. The heart I brought down to, I don't know, around 50, 51, something like that. And I've done nothing in the windows. You can see that I've still got kind of chalky bark back here. So this is what this reed sounds like and feels like right now. It beeps, but that beep is a little bit high and tight. It crows, but that crow is definitely a little high and tight. And when I put it on the oboe, it's okay. It plays, but it's definitely a little stiff and a little, again, high and tight. But it's not bad for a 1 minute old reed. So what I propose to do now is I'm just going to do a quick build of those windows, right? This is, 4 scrapes on the right, 4 scrapes on the left. So that I've sort of created windows, and I've left more spine than I normally would in a reed as well, because I just sort of want to run the experiment. I imagine that my heart stops at about 60. So all of these measurements are more or less what I would expect. Ooh, actually the heart is... Oh, no, I was just measuring funny. We're a little short on this side, but basically that's what I would do on my day 1 scrape, to just sort of rough in some windows. And what I perceive that did is it opened the crow a little bit more. I'm not sure that it lowered it particularly. I wasn't looking at a tuner, but yeah, it does feel lower. It feels a little juicier. It's more easy for me to access that lower crow. Putting it on the oboe, I get... It's feeling a little bit more open, a little bit more... I feel like I have greater access to the pitch floor than I did before. And now I'm going to do another scrape. Let's take a couple of swipes here. And as I always do, I dig just a little bit below. Let's get that thing off. Sorry. I dig a little bit right below the heart. So I'm leaving a pretty strong wall here. I always do that. In the process of doing this, I usually end up sacrificing the spine a little bit, but I am very careful to maintain that rail on the side. That, I think, is very important structurally. So here's my other side, just doing the same thing. Okay, and now that I've taken out that much, which does begin to look a little bit more like a normal reed of mine, I don't like the beep very much anymore, which doesn't surprise me, because the more I take out of the windows, the more I rebalance the reed. So I'm not sure that it's vibrating at the tip anymore. That's a thing I'm going to have to rework, but let's observe where we are. It's interesting that the crow is actually coming back up. This again doesn't surprise me because I very often will work in the windows to help the heart think it's thicker. And as I strengthen the heart, it raises the crow. So we're sort of rebalancing the reed upward. I bet you didn't expect when I took all of that stuff out of the windows that it would raise the crow, did you? And now it sounds like this. So what I believe I've done is I've actually reduced the response at the tip. And again, this is expected for me. I have less response in the tip, and what I would normally do now if I were going to finish this reed for myself is to finish the tip again, like re-finesse the tip, maybe polish the heart a little bit and sort of bring the whole thing back into balance. But what I'm going to do right now for our experiment is go a little bit farther in the windows first. Let's go another 2 scrapes or so. In all 4 quadrants, and let's see what that did. I definitely feel like I'm getting less depth in my crow than I was before. Isn't that interesting? And again, it's because I'm going to need to refinish all of the stuff north of the windows, because what I'm doing is just throwing the whole reed out of balance a little bit. The reed is closing down, but not in a way that I find attractive. I actually am having a harder time blowing air through it. I feel like at this point, if I want to turn this back into a reed that works for me, I'm going to have to go into the heart and the tip. But let's see what happens if I just do more in the windows instead. The question is, how do you know when there's too much out of the back? And I'm going to say that my answer is there's too much out of the back when the reed no longer responds at the tip or vibrates through the heart, because the back is the most vibrant part of it. I feel like just about anybody could agree that this is visually too much out of the back. Interestingly, my crow came down a little bit, which is not totally what I was expecting. But I'm really feeling aggressively held back by this reed. I can't really put real air through it because it all just sort of stops here. And so at this point, I don't think I can take much more out of the windows without actually making holes in the reed. Ooh, and I could just quickly micrometer check back here. Back in the window behind the heart, I'm at 20. And maybe at 23 on this other side. And now that I've started this, I don't actually know what normal is for me right there. I have it on my chart, but I never look at that dimension, but I will for you at the end of the video. But right now I want to see what I can do about rebalancing and actually seeing if I can turn this reed back into a reed. And certainly the size of the heart is problematic, and I'm going to need to finesse the sides and corners of the tip, because look at how much thinner the window is than the tip. I'll do heart first, which is not always what I advise. I usually recommend going to the tip first because we need to protect the heart, but oh my goodness, it's so out of balance right now. And what I'm doing back here is just sort of trying to take away some of this jagged aggressiveness. Just looking for a rebalance here. The crow is definitely becoming more... there's more depth to it, and there's certainly more freedom to it. I'll pop that on the oboe and see what we have. Woo! we've gotten flat, which means we need a clip. But before I do that, and when I say flat, of course, I'm not necessarily referring to the playing pitch of the reed, but to the way the reed plays in tune with itself, or doesn't play in tune with itself. What I'm hearing is that it doesn't have any real stability in the upper octaves. Okay, now I'm sort of finessing the sides and corners of the tip, and I can even feel, like, as I press with my bottom finger here, how flimsy this reed is. It wants to bend right at the waist. But I've got a very easy crow again, and a very easy response. Let's clip. That feels like it's come back up to a C. Yep. Okay, so for me, this reed is a little shrimpier than I would like it to be. It doesn't feel like I can blow a ton of air through it, but it has a freedom that it didn't before. I don't know how much of this is audible as I play it for you, but it feels like I came from, multiple steps ago, a reed that actually had really good vibrance and really good strength to it, to a reed that got increasingly tight and held back by the strength of the heart, which was not actually in an unreasonable place when I started. You can see this. You can see how much I've done here. I think we can agree that this is too much. But what I observed is that the more I took out of the windows, the more it strengthened the heart, and the heart held back the sound. I was able to rebalance it. Like, I got it back to a C crow, and I got it back to a comfortably playing reed after taking way too much out of the windows. But I would say that there was, for me, a clear point where this reed was ideal, and then I took it way too far on purpose. A more normal window for me is around 30 hundredths of a millimeter. I did check that with my micrometer after recording the snippet about scraping down that window too far. And I hope that this has been helpful, or at least interesting. This has been a 5-minute Reedmaker lesson. You can follow these short videos here on YouTube. You can subscribe if you wish. I hope you will. And if you need to reach me to order reeds or cane, or to ask a question that I could answer in a future 5-minute Reedmaker episode, or of course to pick up a copy of my book, The Happiest Musician, you can find me at jennetingle.com. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.